All right, Rudy. So tell us the name of your company and what you do exactly.
Well, I appreciate that, Christian. Thanks for having me on. The name of the company is Nuworldtitle. We're a semi-national title insurance agency, and we're licensed in 10 states.
Amazing. And you're the CEO of the company.
That's correct. CEO and founder.
Perfect. So tell us what inspired you. Tell us about the beginnings, Rudy.
Well, I'm a humbled child. Grew up in Ozone Park, Queens, New York, and came from humbled beginnings, as I was mentioning earlier. And I had an opportunity to change my life drastically at a very young age, 14, 15 years old. I had an opportunity to move to South Florida with my sister in Miami. And I took on that opportunity, obviously changed high schools, and it changed the pathway to my life. Let's just say things weren't going as great for me in New York, personally and from an education standpoint. And I had the opportunity to move, and I took on that opportunity. And we ultimately started working really, really hard, as it's the only thing I knew how to do. And I took on some jobs, UPS being one of them that really sticks out.
Wow.
And while I was UPS at a young age, I actually got promoted up the ranks twice over. And
Wow.
at UPS, I actually thought that was going to be the end all be all for me from a career standpoint. And things didn't work out that way. Uh, I had an ex girlfriend. She's an ex girlfriend now, but I had a girlfriend at the time, actually a fiance, who noticed some abilities and talents that, let's just say, I possibly didn't in myself.
Hmm.
And she was in the mortgage business. And she had asked me to take a leap of faith, go into the mortgage business and do mortgage sales. And to make a very, very long story short, I ended up with a big company called AmeriQuest Mortgage out of Miami. They were a national company. A lot of people who have been in the business for as long as I have been, which is now 24 years, know exactly who they are. They were a pretty big player in the mortgage field. And I worked my way up as a loan officer to a branch manager, then ultimately a regional manager at this organization, and flourished. Things were great. And things were great up until about 2007.
Hmm.
And if anyone who's been in the industry knows, about 2007, there was a collapse economically.
Yep.
And we all had to figure out a different path and a different route when it came to our careers. I had an individual who was a processor of mine who had title experience, who gave me the idea to open a title company. And not knowing much about it, I went headfirst and opened the title agency in 2008. And here we are.
Very interesting story. I love how you started from the bottom. You no rich parents, no daddy's money. You just started from the very, very bottom and worked your way up. I love those like rags to riches stories, Rudy. So, to me, the hardest part of running a company is actually not actually running the company, but getting the capital. So where did you get the capital to start your company?
It's a great story. I've got something to share with you. I had a best friend who came into the business with me at the time. He was going to come work for me. He was working with me at the mortgage company. And I remember going to shop for a desk, and I literally had the last $500 on me to purchase this desk, which of course cost $500, and I was going to be left with nothing. And he looked me in the eyes and said, "I believe in you. You need to start believing in yourself. Buy the desks." It was actually two desks. Buy the desks. Let's get this thing going. I didn't have any capital, and I had the good fortune of having a great mother, still do, and a great sister and some family that would occasionally help me out with other bills like a mortgage that I had at the time, so
Nice.
that I could survive and get through just opening, just getting the doors opened on this agency. And I took a leap of faith. I believed in myself enough to go out there and start stirring up some business, and ultimately that's what ended up happening.
Very interesting. So it sounds like you didn't need a tremendous amount of capital to even start the company.
No, I needed myself. I needed my belief. I needed to work hard. I needed to be dedicated, and I needed to get business through the door immediately. Because if I didn't, it would not have been good for me.
So tell us how you got from that person starting a company to where you are now. How did you make those? What were the steps?
There's not steps. There's no secret formula. It's called people.
Hmm.
Surrounding myself with the best of the best. The maybe the one innate ability that I believe I possess is being able to understand people, recognize talent, untapped potential, and ultimately give them a platform and an opportunity um, that they may not have gotten anywhere else, and instill in them a belief that anything is possible. And that is the secret to our success. It's always been people, it's always going to be the people. And they raised this company to where it's at. They got it to the levels that I never in my wildest dreams would have imagined it would have gotten to.
Hmm.
And for that, I'm thankful. They know it. I know it. We're a family. We're a culture. We're different. And we continue to rock on, and it's a blessing.
So I'm gonna assume that your first year was the hardest year.
Uh yeah, that's a good assumption. I would probably recognize that and say yes. We've been through some ups and downs, but just like anything else in life, it's always going to be a roller coaster. Adversity introduces a man to himself, and so I've been introduced to myself and who I am a million times over throughout this roller coaster ride we call real estate.
Right. I mean, for the people listening, you cannot start a business and expect it to be smooth and linear. You have to expect L's, you have to expect fluctuations, you have to expect
Always,
losses. I'm sure you had a bunch of losses in your career so far.
absolutely. And you take those losses in the chin, and you get up, and you do what you've got to do moving forward to create W's. And we've had plenty of those as well. It comes with the territory.
Yeah, that's why I love the word persistency because a lot of people nowadays don't have the persistency. They take one or two L's and give up. You gotta get up and keep going. And it's so cliche, but it's the only way to get to where you are. I'm sure Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos had more L's than both of us put together. So that's how it is. So
I think
I do. What was that?
their losses have been documented. We've all seen them. So
Yeah,
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 they
yeah. I mean, they've lost millions and billions of dollars, but I do want to talk about the first year though, because the first year is always so interesting to me. It's usually the hardest. Tell us about your first year.
well, the first year was the get to know who you are type of year, and understanding that this is the first entrepreneurial endeavor that I actually encountered, um, and being able to understand what your strong points were from a personality perspective, leadership skills, and put those into play and put them into the world of entrepreneurship, and everything else uh, one of the things that I realized quickly was that I wasn't a good accountant, um, and I wasn't going to be able to do. I wasn't a lawyer, uh, and I wasn't going to be able to understand and really truly grasp or have the ability or the want to possess and do everything on my own. So it was a real good time to reflect on what is it going to take to get these things done. Accounting, for example, compliance, marketing, strategies. And so it's a get to know yourself type of deal.
Yeah.
And that comes with a lot of trial and error. Uh, you know, Certain people don't work out for the role that you asked them to be part of, but you learn from that. So it's just and listen, consistently always being open to learning is a beautiful thing. I think that's what's gotten us this far. I learned every single day. But that first year, if you want to harp on that for sure, it was a lot of learning lessons that I needed to take on. And I'm better for it now.
Yeah, the first year is always the learning curve is always so steep. And one thing I learned in life, in business and in life in general, is that no matter how successful you get, you always have to learn how to be a student. You're a CEO, you already have many employees, but I'm sure that every now and then you put on the student hat when someone else is talking. No matter how successful you get, you have to have that humility, correct?
Absolutely. And it's not every now and then, it's every day.
Mm.
I learn something. I try to learn something new every day. And if it's not something very practical. It's at least something from the individual that you're dealing with, whether it's an employee, a partner. We've got tons of partners. We've got over 100 employees. We're not a small company by any stretch of the imagination. I wouldn't call us corporate size, but we've got, a lot of people whose lives are at stakes, and we take that very serious.
How many employees do you have right now?
Over 100.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. And how long ago did you start this company?
We started in 2008. So that's going to be what, 16 years?
Because
Yep.
I know you're officially a small company below 100, and so now you're no longer a small business owner after 100, which so you broke that barrier, which is amazing. Wow. Yeah, I mean, just tell us how did you get there, man? How did you get to 100 people or over 100 people? I mean, what are the steps?
What,
I mean, you said there are no steps, but there has to be some steps, isn't there?
first and foremost, you've got to have that fire in you, and you've got to be. I don't care what anyone says. You've got to be ultra competitive, and I am one competitive dude. Um, and that's just because it's in me. I've competed in sports, not on a high level, but I've just always been a competitive guy, and I don't like to lose. And so you create this storyline in your mind that allows you to really just become a you against the world type of deal. It's almost like that Black Mamba mentality, the Kobe mentality. But I took on that at an early age and an early part of my career, which allowed me to focus in, get motivated, and come to work every single day and have a vision beyond anyone else's. And that vision is still carried on because I can tell you this emphatically: we're at 10 states now, and there isn't enough people to run all the states. I'm looking drastically right now for partners, for opportunities consistently. And that's carried on throughout the years. So if we're 16 years in and we're licensed and doing business in 10 states, the next 5 years for sure, I imagine that we're going to be another 10 states deep, doing business, really good business, and creating really good partnerships and relationships. But it starts with the motivation, the belief, the confidence that you can achieve whatever it is that you want to do in your particular arena. And that was always there. And then you got to put that into play. You got to be able to execute that, create a plan, and execute the plan on a daily basis and consistently, which I see a lot of business owners not do.
Mm,
And then from there, really the most important part is who you surround yourself. So it's people,
yeah.
who you hire, who you want to make a partner. Because I've got partners now. It started off with me alone doing it, and then realizing that I'm better off with really great partners that can add an edge and add things that I may not be able to add. And so that's another layer in the step is self-recognition, understanding what you're really, really good at and the things that you're not good at. Get people to be good at that for you in your platform and with you, not for you, but with you. And so we can talk about employees right now. When I speak to them as if they're partners, because without them, this business doesn't run. And I think that a lot of people psychologically don't get that. There's a lot of egos that get in the way when it comes to running a business. Yeah, I'm not that boss type. I'm not the guy that walks in the room and says, "You listen to me because I'm the boss." I've got a different approach to life and business all on its own. Uh, People need to be involved. They have a voice. We have a culture. Now, understand that there's things that need to be done to get the job done, and so that will always carry with me. But that's really if we're talking about steps and procedures, it's pretty basic, man. The most important part is having an ability to recognize what can be good for you and who you surround yourself with that can help bring that to fruition.
Amazing, man. So it sounds to me like you feel the absolute need to win.
Yeah, always.
And
World domination.
yeah, and that's so interesting to me because I noticed that a lot of the most successful people have that mentality. Like you said, the Mamba mentality. They feel like that failure is not an option. That if they fail, the world is over, sort of thing. Right?
We fail all the time, but it's like we referring back to what I said earlier. We take those failures, we learn from those failures, we get up, we move forward, and we figure out a way how to win the next one. And that's what it is. But you can't win alone at this. Not at least in my world. They can't. It's impossible. You're not going to win and you're not going to get to the point you really want to get to without others helping and
Yeah.
supporting.
Yeah. There's no way that you could have gotten where you are without some sort of help and some sort of support and employees. And it sounds to me also like you have a good balance of nice and assertive towards your employees. Like you're not over aggressive. You have that healthy balance, it sounds like.
That's correct. And you have to have that balance. Balance is good in life overall.
Right, because if you were that over aggressive boss that walked in and that talks down to your employees, then you'd probably have three employees if you were
I,
that boss, right?
yeah, I wouldn't have a company.
Right. People would just quit and nobody wants to work for that guy. So Rudy, walk us through a normal day in your shoes. What time do you wake up? Coffee or tea? What kind of coffee or tea? Walk us through a normal day.
So I don't have normal days. I travel a lot because of all the states that we're in. And so it really truly all depends on where I'm at. Routinely, though, if I'm in South Florida, I wake up at around 7:30 in the morning. I am not an early riser. I have to get to the gym to get my day going. I do not drink coffee. Um, I
Interesting.
Yeah, I do not. I drink coffee on days that it's an absolute must because I have been out all night with clients, and that's a norm, by the way.
Interesting.
Unfortunately, because I'm getting up there in age, and so I can't hang like I used to. But the typical day is a 7:30 wake up, gym, um, shower, uh, protein shake, uh, and then go about my business and what it brings throughout the day. I typically try to set up my week a week prior and understand how to prioritize what's on my agenda, and it could be multiple Zoom calls to office visits to meeting with clientele to developing more business strategies with my team, going over marketing strategies, events that are coming up like Triple Play in Atlantic City. That's being a big topic of discussion because we're rounding the corner on getting there. And if anybody doesn't know, we throw probably the biggest party in Atlantic City every year. It's going to be our fourth or fifth year now that we do it for the
Nice.
Triple Play. And so we not only do that, but we take a lot of pride in how we exhibit at the exhibitor's booth. And we take a lot of time into making sure that the details are covered and it's showtime because ultimately we're showmen. Our business, we're a vendor. Let's not call it. Let's call it what it is. Of course, we're a necessity, but there's a million and one title companies out there. I mean, there's a title company almost on every block in every state. Title companies are everywhere. There is not a lack of title companies, but we've got to figure out every single day how to stand out and be different. We're not trying to be any other title company. That's the last thing on our agenda. We want to be completely different. We want to be wild almost. We want to be, look at us. And again, I'm not a big attention guy. I never have been. If you look through our social media, I'm not on front page all the time. As a matter of fact, I don't like it. I like being in the background, but I like putting everybody else up front. But yeah, we've got to be attention grabbers. We've got to be different, and that's the only way we're going to be able to scale with so much competitors. And that probably follows suit with any industry. Real estate agents, loan officers. How do you become the elite echelon type of agent? Well, you got to be completely different, creative, wild, and your marketing needs to be not routine. It's got to be different, and you've got to switch those things up all the time. You can't stay still.
You got to stand out. I tell all the realtors all the time, you got to find a way to stand out. So, what makes New World stand out from the other title companies?
Well,
What?
outside of having all the good-looking people on our staff, and I say that sincerely, by the way, and that wasn't done on purpose. We just got lucky. We've got some really great-looking people on our staff who have a great appeal to them and have a wonderful personality that carries alongside that. But that's number one. It's the people, their personality, the persistence, the never let up mentality, the never give up, the follow up continuously type of mentality, and the marketing strategies. If you haven't gone on our social media and looked at our videos, from getting celebrities to baseball athletes to all types of different types of walks of life getting on our videos and giving us shout outs to doing billboards. When we got into New Jersey, the first thing we did was we put up 75 billboards. We had no phone number on the billboard. It was just our sign set of keys, and it said Nuworldtitle, and it confused a lot of people. But it just created a brand that stuck with a lot of people throughout that time frame that we had him up. We had him up for almost a year, and it created opportunities for our people. It created opportunities for me to be able to recruit people, and the return of investment was always there. I knew it from the very onset, and we weren't going direct to the consumer. It almost made no sense to a lot of people. Why are they putting up a billboard? There's no phone number, there's no message. It's just their logo, their brand, and no slogan below it. But now you know we're here,
Right.
right? And that laid the foundation for us. That's just one of the things that we've done. You know, we bring Tom Ferry, a well-renowned national sales coach. We're the first title company to ever hire him,
Wow.
to put him in front of audiences. And we started doing that initially. Our first year with Tom Ferry was in New Jersey, and we brought him in, and we didn't charge a dollar. We paid for the entirety of the expense. We fed people. There was an after party for VIPs, and we sat them in front of Tom Ferry for 4 or 5 hours, live and in person, and we educated them. And we created a platform for ourselves because now we've got data and we've got people in front of us. So in between sessions with Tom, I'd go up and I'd start talking about us and why we were different and why we were special. And why was it that we were the first ones to think about bringing the best sales coach ever to the table for you guys for a few hours in one single day? We're doing it, by the way, next week in Texas. Um, San Antonio, Texas, November the 21st. Tom Ferry will be live and in person at the Tobin Center. I will be there in attendance as I always am. And
Yes.
he's going to rock the house because he's the absolute best. He's the man. And people come out and watch him. But for me, for us as an organization, the Tom Ferry effect is simply just an opportunity to get in front of you more people. I mean, we had our biggest Tom Ferry event was either in New York or New Jersey. We had him in Westbury, Long Island last year, and we had over 600 people there. We had over close to 1,000 in Fort Lauderdale, and I think in Jersey, when we did it in Jersey, we had like 700. We're expecting about an 800 people turnout, all
Wow.
agents,
Wow.
in San Antonio next week. We're excited about that.
Incredible, man. Incredible story. I'm still in awe of everything and the fact that I'm assuming that you're still hiring.
Yes, consistently. And right now, we're making a big push for salespeople. We need a bigger sales force in New York. We need some people in Jersey to fill some gaps in some geographic areas that we're not currently doing a ton of business in. Same in Texas, same in Florida, everywhere for that matter. And when the production levels rise, we're always bringing on more processors
Yeah.
and administrative people, personnel, and things of that nature. So yeah, that goes with the flow. But right now, we're making a push. I think that the elections went well for our industry specifically. We're not going to get into politics in any way, shape, or form, but because of that, it's time to turn on the light and really go full force on capturing more business now.
Yes, and I agree, by the way. Rudy, what is your favorite thing about being a title agent? Sorry, being a CEO. Sorry, being a CEO.
The, Again, it's going to sound corny and cliche, but it's people, the people I meet, having the opportunity to sit at round tables with other CEOs of mortgage lenders, of big brokerages. We got joint ventures with Keller Williams's, Century 21s. We do a lot of business with a lot of Remaxes. Just having the ability to travel geographically, let's just call it what it is. Texans are different than New Yorkers, right? And Floridians are different than Jerseyans. It's fun, and being able to kind of mesh and be in the room and at the table to take a look at these personalities and how different the walks of lives are. It really is a pleasure for
Yes, people seems to be the number one answer when I ask that question to people. People seems to be the number one answer. So I definitely understand. It's nice to connect with new people and people that you never met before. So Rudy, what is your least favorite thing about being a CEO?
me. It's a great question. It's a really good question. Let me think about this for a second.
There has to be at least one thing you don't like.
Customer complaints, and listen, they're inevitable with the amount of volume that we do. There's going to be some things. There is no such thing as perfection. We're not robots. Things get missed or response times sometimes lack. And we take really, really, really great pride in ensuring that our service is top notch. And so we're very critical. Uh, I get myself beat up when a complaint comes through and it gets to my desk. Um, and sometimes it isn't our fault. As a matter of fact, I would venture to see, but the majority of times it's not our fault. But as a title company, we're the punching bag. Everything gets blamed on us. It always has, and it always will be. We understand that, and it takes some time for a newer person to understand that you did everything right. You communicated extremely well, and yet you're the scapegoat and you're the punching bag because there's no one else to kind of throw under the bus but the title company in front of their clients. That's kind of you have to understand that that's the way of the world and that's just the way it works. And we've got to understand that that's what it is. It's not fair and it's not right, but you got to understand it. But if anything were to really mess my day up, it'd be a complaint, no matter what. It can be the smallest complaint. And we get very, very small, minute ones like, hey, I sent an email an hour ago. It hasn't been responded to. That happens more often than you think, and then I'd have to get on the phone with. I go the chain of command route. I don't go directly to the processors. I go to the state manager or branch manager, and they'll handle that situation. And you know, I don't want it to come across in a negative way with the personnel. So I take the approach of using the chain of command for those type of situations, so that I don't insult or feel like someone, hey, the CEO just called me and he put me in my place because I didn't respond to an email in an hour. I know how some people can feel about that, and I don't want them to feel that way.
Yeah, I'm also wondering in my head, like, what percent of complaints actually make it to you?
Not many. Not many. Not many. Unless there's familiarity, because you've got to remember that I built this business uh, selling myself. I didn't hire salespeople when I first got into this business. So I built a book of business that has lasted for 17, 16, 17 years. And those individuals feel like the only way they want to continue to do business is dealing with the guy who first sold them, which was me, on making a move from their current situation at the time. And so I respect that and I take that on. And so I take on phone calls of individuals who call me with situational things. I had a call yesterday from a long lasting client on a wholesale deal where there's a probate involved. But yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things that benefit me as a business owner as well, is always having the best ability, which in my opinion is availability.
It's interesting because when I asked you the question, what is your least favorite thing about a CEO? I thought that you would say it's juggling over 100 employees. That's what I thought you would
No,
say.
no, no. That comes with the territory. I love that. You got to be a sick man to be, in my position. You got to kind of be screwed up in the head. You got to love that kind of stuff. You love and listen, let's call it what it is. 95% of our staff are women. And that's just because the title industry is built that way. It's not because we don't look at men. We just don't get many resumes for processing that comes with the male oriented. It's not male oriented in any way, shape, or form. Now the sales force is or can be, but I'm talking about the back end, the operational side. It's mostly females, and so can you imagine as a man dealing with those personalities consistently? And with no shame on females, but it can get catty sometimes, and it can get emotional, and you've got to be able to deal with that and have a good enough understanding of what you're dealing with so that you can get through it.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I feel like that would drive me crazy personally. So that's interesting. So Rudy, how much would someone have to offer you today to buy out your company?
Well, it's already happened. It's occurred. Um, Offers have been through, come through the doors, and we're not entirely ready to move forward in that position. Um, there will come a time where we're going to make some changes because, again, change is good. It's inevitable, but we're not there right now, and I don't even want to discuss, any type of numbers or anything like that. Wouldn't be appropriate to my staff, to my people, to my partners, and so yeah, I can't give you an answer on that.
Right. Well, I'm sure that one day that time will come when you're older and when you're tired and someone does make a big offer that you'll accept.
When I have I get when I have grandkids.
Yeah, yeah. Whenever you get tired, because you will get tired at some point.
Sure.
Rudy, how has the title business changed since you first started?
Well, it's changed a few times. So when we were the first thing that comes to my mind is we were doing HUDs, and that was a simple, very simplified settlement statement. Now they moved. I don't know. I want to say it was maybe 2012. They moved over to TRID, which was the closing disclosure, the CDs. Now they're called CDs. So those changes happened. Um, I can't say that. Another change that I've noticed is that everybody now wants to have and own and operate their own title company, which um, kudos to them for wanting to do it. There's more people wanting to do titles since we came on board and garnered a lot of success, and more people thought that they can do it. And kudos to them. Some of them are doing it, some of them not so well. Um, but yeah, title companies weren't a thing, and I say this with a lot of humility. And I say this emphatically because no matter what region we go to, title companies were never discussed, talked about. They were an afterthought for the most part until we came into the region and did what we did from a marketing standpoint, created a competitive spirit amongst sales reps, and then we became popular. So that's what's really transcended with me as far as the change in title companies. Now title companies are kind of stepping up their game, rebranding, marketing themselves. Whereas before, that wasn't even the case. Trying to throw parties, networking events, things of that nature. It's pretty cool to see. I've got a big smirk on my face because I know we played a huge role in that, and that's pretty cool. We just weren't a thing, and now we're talked about, and now we're in the discussion, and now we're at the table with everyone else.
Rudy, how are we on time? We good on time?
I got another 5 minutes in me.
Okay, so let's try to wrap it up then. Rudy, what is your long-term plan?
I'm going back to law. Well, not going back. I'm attending law school next year. Um, and I intend on maintaining this side of the business and creating a pathway for me to take on an endeavor which is very passionate to me, which is sports. And so the reasoning behind the law school is for me to have an advantageous um, it would be advantageous for me to get into sports management and having and creating a sports agency. And it's been a passion of mine. It's something that I've always wanted to do. And that's the reason for me going to law school, starting immediately next year in January. Um, and I'm going to take that trip. That's what's next for me personally. Is getting through that. I also had a bet with my son. We were when I was younger. I had always wanted to get into law, and then I got carried away with the business, and it was almost felt like an impossibility to do at the time as we were scaling and working so hard to get to where we're at right now. But we're in a better place now. We're in a place where there's people in place, there's partners, there's managers. The company runs on its own; it doesn't need me. And kudos to me for being able to assemble that those cast of characters, put them in their place, compensate them extremely well, and give them the ability to shine and take on more challenges. And so, because of that, I've got the ability to go back full time to law school, finish that, and then create the next chapter in my life, which I think is going to be phenomenal, and that's being a sports agent.
Wow. Yeah, so it's going to be really hard to juggle both, and it's really inspiring that you even have the
No,
motivation.
well, yeah,
It's inspiring that
not
you
going to
even
be
have.
hard. I'm going to tell you why it's not going to be hard because the people are in place that are here now with us, continuing the culture and representing the brand, have that locked in. They're great at what they do. They're phenomenal. And that's exactly what was supposed to be my job. Get the right people in place to do the job, and they're doing it. They can carry it along. I'll be here, never going anywhere. Uh, different type of
So, Rudy, you're breaking up a little bit.
challenge.
Do you have any tips for new people entering the title business?
Yeah. First and foremost, reach out to the local superstar salesperson, right? Even if they're a competitor. Put your guards down. Uh, people tend to leave your egos at the door.
Yes.
Um, why? Why not reach out to me or reach out to one of my top producers?
Yep.
Even if you're not on this side, it's not always about, oh, we're going to recruit. No, it's about sharing. And I
Yep.
think that we're better people in this world if we care and share. And
Yep.
I'm like that. I've never turned anybody away. I talk to competitors all the time, and I try to give them any type of things, any type of leverage they can use, any type of advantageous information that they can take with them to better their business. And I think that's the first thing that I would recommend for anyone getting into the business that's brand new is reach out to somebody who you're familiar with or know of, that is shining, and have them have lunch with them, have a conversation
Yeah.
with them
Yeah.
telephonically, whatever it takes. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Outside of that is understanding rejection, because rejection comes at all angles, and being able to withstand rejection, get through that, and understand that better days were always going to be ahead.
Yes, and I really, really, my favorite part of that was leave your egos at the door. That was my favorite part of that advice. Rudy, where can people find you?
Well, my cell number, which is open to the public, is 954-649-7283. My email address is Rudy, Rudy, at nuworldtitle.com. Our website is nuworldtitle.com. And I think there's no more beepers. There's nothing else. No signals. Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find.
Rudy, it was an amazing conversation, man.
My man, God bless you. Thank you for having us. We appreciate the time. And if you ever need anything again, I'm here for you. Okay.
I appreciate you, boss. Have a good one, man. Take
All right,
care. All
buddy.
right.